On a crisp March afternoon in 2024, the muddy waters of the Pecatonica River churned as a crane groaned, hauling a rusted relic from its depths. Fishermen, their sonar pinging in the quiet Illinois air, had stumbled upon something extraordinary: a 1966 Chevrolet Impala, submerged for nearly half a century. Inside, skeletal remains hinted at a chilling truth: this was no ordinary wreck. Could this discovery finally solve one of the state line's most baffling mysteries, the 1976 disappearance of Clarence Owens and Everett Hawley? For true crime enthusiasts, amateur sleuths, and those haunted by unanswered questions, this story promises to unravel a decades-old puzzle, revealing secrets hidden beneath the river's surface. Stay with us, because what lies ahead could change everything you thought you knew about this case. Background and setup. In the small, tight-knit town of Pecatonica, Illinois, February 19, 1976, began like any other winter day. The air was sharp, the streets quiet, and the community buzzed with the usual rhythm of rural life. Pecatonica, nestled in Winnebago County, was a place where everyone knew each other, where secrets were hard to keep, and where trust was the currency of daily interactions. With a population barely exceeding 2,000, it was the kind of town where neighbors waved from porches and local cafes like Rockies served as the heartbeat of gossip and camaraderie. But on that fateful day, two men, well-known and well-liked, would vanish, leaving behind a mystery that would haunt the region for nearly 5 decades. Clarence Owens, 65, was a familiar figure in the state line area. Known to most as Joom, a childhood nickname short for Jumbo, he was a compact man at 5 feet 8 inches and 200 pounds, with a warm smile and a knack for real estate. A divorced father of 3 sons, Clarence had spent his life navigating the world of land development, his sharp mind always on the lookout for the next deal. His pride and joy was his newly painted gold 1966 Chevrolet Impala, a sleek machine that turned heads as it cruised through Freeport and Pecatonica. That car was his baby, his son Tom Owens later recalled in an interview with Wiper. He just had it painted, and he couldn't stop talking about how sharp it looked. Everett Hawley, 75, was Clarence's business partner and friend, a towering figure at 6 feet 6 inches and 250 pounds. A former manager of the Federal Land Bank Association in Freeport, Everett was a respected real estate broker whose presence commanded attention. Married to his wife, Etha, and father to 1 son, he was a family man with deep roots in Stockton, Illinois. Together, Clarence and Everett were a dynamic duo, often seen at farm auctions and land appraisals, their wallets stuffed with cash for the bargains they loved to chase. Their partnership was built on trust and a shared passion for the land, but it was their final day together that would cement their names in local lore. On that February morning, Clarence picked up Everett in his gleaming Impala, and the two set out for a busy day. Their first stop was the American Legion Hall in Pecatonica, where a political rally for gubernatorial candidate James R. Thompson was in full swing. The hall was alive with chatter, the clink of coffee cups, and the hum of small-town politics. After the rally, the pair strolled across the street to Rocky's Cafe, where the scent of fresh pie and brewed coffee filled the air. They were in good spirits, a waitress later told investigators, her voice tinged with hindsight's sorrow. Just 2 guys enjoying a slice of pie, talking about the auction they were headed to. Next, they visited Clarence's son, who lived nearby. His wife answered the door, noting that the men seemed hurried but cheerful, mentioning a land appraisal they needed to complete near German Valley. It was a brief stop, no more than 5 minutes, before they climbed back into the Impala and drove toward a farm auction near the Winnebago-Ogle county line. The auction, held on Boardman's farm, was a bustling affair, with farmers and dealers haggling over equipment and land. Clarence and Everett were last seen there between 2:40 and 3 p.m., their gold Impala parked prominently among the crowd. They were just there, a fellow attendee later said, his words heavy with the weight of what followed. Then they were gone. The crime. When Clarence and Everett failed to show up for their 4:30 p.m. appointment in German Valley, their families grew concerned. By the morning of February 20, 1976, with no sign of the men or their gold Impala, panic set in. The Stevenson and Winnebago County Sheriff's offices, along with the Civil Air Patrol, launched a massive search. Helicopters buzzed over the rolling fields, and volunteers scoured the countryside, their boots sinking into the February mud. It was like they vanished into thin air, local historian Cotty Cressall later told WTVO. No one could understand how two prominent men in a car that flashy could just disappear. Theories swirled. Had they run off with cash from a deal gone wrong? Were they victims of a robbery, given their habit of carrying large sums for auctions? Tom Owens, Clarence's son and a Rockford police officer, believed foul play was involved. My dad and Everett were careful, but they weren't naive, he told WIFR. Someone knew they had money. Someone knew where they'd be. Clues were scarce. A pair of horn-rimmed glasses, similar to those Clarence wore, was found along a roadside, but the lenses didn't match his prescription. A reported sighting of a gold sedan never panned out. Most puzzling was the silence of their bank accounts, no activity, no withdrawals, nothing to suggest they'd fled. As weeks turned to months, the case grew cold. The Pecatonica River, winding through the heart of town, became a focal point of speculation. Locals whispered about its murky depths, wondering if it held the answers no one could find. People would stand on the bridge, staring down at the water, recalled 90-year-old Marge Herbig, a lifelong Pecatonica resident. We'd say, maybe they're down there, but no one really believed we'd ever know. The mystery lingered, a wound that refused to heal, as the Impala and its occupants remained lost to time. Decision point. What do you think happened to Clarence and Everett? Did they drive off the road into the river by accident, or was this a calculated act of foul play? Hold that thought. We're about to dive into the investigation that cracked this case wide open. Criminal Cold Cases Investigation. For 47 years, the disappearance of Clarence Owens and Everett Hawley remained one of the state line's most perplexing cold cases. The initial investigation in 1976 was exhaustive but fruitless. Detectives interviewed dozens of auction attendees, tracked down leads on the gold sedan, and even dragged parts of the Pecatonica River, but the technology of the time, limited to basic sonar and manual searches, yielded nothing. "We threw everything we had at it," a retired Winnebago County deputy later told the Rockford Register-Star. But it was like chasing ghosts. The case file grew dusty, but the families never gave up hope. Tom Owens, working as a police officer, pored over the case in his spare time, chasing every tip, no matter how small. Community members like Marge Herbig kept the story alive, recounting it at town gatherings. "It was the talk of the town for years," she said, her voice trembling with memory. "Every so often, someone would bring it up, wondering if we'd ever find that car." The breakthrough came unexpectedly in March 2024, when a group of fishermen cast their lines into the Pecatonica River near East 1st and Washington Streets. Their sonar fish finder, a modern tool far more advanced than the equipment of 1976, pinged with an unusual shape beneath the surface. "It looked like a car," one fisherman told CBS News. "We thought, no way, not out here. But we called it in anyway." The Winnebago County Sheriff's Office responded swiftly, dispatching divers and fire crews to the scene. By 9 a.m. on March 11, 2024, the riverbank was a hive of activity, with locals gathering to watch as a crane prepared to lift the object from the muddy depths. At 2:30 p.m., the crane's cables tightened, and the water parted to reveal a rusted 1966 Chevrolet Impala, its gold paint long faded but unmistakable. Sheriff Gary Caruana stood at the scene, his face grim. "Not too many cars like that end up in the Pecatonica River," he told WIFR. "We knew right away this was connected to Owens and Holly." The coroner's office was called when a human bone was spotted inside the vehicle, a chilling confirmation that this was no mere wreck. Over the next few days, dive teams recovered over 100 skeletal remains from the river and the car, a painstaking process complicated by the mud and the passage of time. Decision point. What would you do next if you were the coroner? Would you prioritize DNA testing, or would you focus on the car for clues about how it ended up in the river? Let's see how the investigators proceeded. The remains were sent to a forensic anthropologist in St. Louis, Missouri, for analysis. By late March, the anthropologist confirmed the bones belonged to 2 adult males, a finding that aligned with the profiles of Clarence and Everett. "The water made it tough," coroner Jennifer Morosky told WTVO. "The remains were degraded, but we could tell they were from 2 people. No trauma was found on the bones, ruling out obvious signs of violence like gunshot wounds or fractures." 2 femur bones were sent to the Illinois State Police Forensic Lab for DNA testing, a process that would take months but promised answers. As the investigation unfolded, the community held its breath. Social media buzzed with theories, from Reddit's Cracked Cold Cases forum to local news comments. Some speculated the men had been targeted for their cash, while others wondered if the car had simply veered off the road in an accident. A provocative post on Reddit even suggested a personal motive, hinting that Clarence and Everett's frequent trips together might have been more than business-related, though no evidence supported this theory. Sheriff Caruana urged the public to come forward with any information from 1976, emphasizing that even small details could help. "No case is ever truly closed," he said at a press conference, his voice steady but hopeful. Outcome and aftermath. On September 10, 2024, the Winnebago County Coroner's Office delivered the news the families had waited nearly 5 decades to hear. DNA testing confirmed the remains were those of Clarence Owens and Everett Hawley. The announcement, reported by WIFR, brought a wave of relief and sorrow to the community. This brings us one step closer to providing closure, Sheriff Caruana said in a statement. It's a testament to the dedication of our detectives and forensic experts. The cause of death remained undetermined, a lingering question mark in the case. The absence of trauma suggested no foul play, but the circumstances of the car's submersion were unclear. Had the Impala skidded off a bridge in the dark, perhaps after the auction? Or had someone deliberately driven it into the river to conceal a crime? Tom Owens, now retired, held firm in his belief that his father and Everett were victims of foul play. They were careful men, he told CBS News. This wasn't an accident. Yet, Coroner Murawski noted that the lack of evidence for violence leaned toward an accidental death, perhaps a tragic misstep on a rural road. The discovery reverberated through Pecatonica and beyond. Local news outlets, from the Rockford Register-Star to Rex, covered the story extensively, with headlines hailing the breakthrough as a triumph of modern technology and persistence. Marge Herbig, who spent 8 hours at the riverbank watching the car's recovery, spoke for many when she said, "It's like a weight's been lifted, but it's bittersweet." We finally know, but we'll never know the whole story. The families, though grieving, expressed gratitude for the closure. "We can lay them to rest now," Etha Hawley's son said in a statement to WTVO, his voice breaking. The case sparked renewed interest in cold cases across Illinois, with outlets like the Daily Mail calling it a major breakthrough that underscored the power of forensic advancements. Social media platforms, particularly Reddit's Cracked Cold Cases, saw an uptick in discussions about other unsolved mysteries, with users praising the fisherman's accidental discovery. The Impala, now a rusted shell, was stored as evidence, its faded gold paint a silent witness to a tragedy that had eluded answers for too long. Decision point. If you were a detective on this case, would you push for further investigation into the cause of death, or would you accept the accidental death theory? What clues might still be out there, waiting to be found? Closing reflection. The Pecatonica River has always been a quiet presence in Winnebago County, its waters flowing steadily through the heart of a community that holds its secrets close. For 48 years, it guarded the truth about Clarence Owens and Everett Hawley, two men whose lives were cut short in a mystery that gripped a small town and refused to let go. Their story reminds us that even in the safest corners of the world, the unexpected can lurk just beneath the surface, waiting for the right moment to emerge. As the families lay their loved ones to rest, and as Pecatonica heals from a wound nearly half a century old, we're left to wonder. What other secrets does the river hold, and will they, too, one day rise to the light?